I came to town one night in June because Martin Luther King sent me here to cool off the movement.
As a means of demonstrating, large numbers of Negroes began marching through the downtown area at night.
Night marches were extremely dangerous, and many of the local protesters had been caught with weapons.
Rifles, pistols, shotguns, machetes, nightsticks, blackjacks, hatchets, axe handles.
These were ordinary people, angry people, who had not been trained in the discipline of nonviolent social protest, a philosophy and practice that many of us were able to accept only with great difficulty.
I am an ex-Marine, and I could not fathom the idea of someone slapping me on one side of my face and I turn the other.
Nevertheless, Willie Bolden had become one of Dr. King's trusted field secretaries, and he was working in Florida.
Before we go out on this march, do anyone have any type of weapon, anything?
Bolden was trying to convince the St. Augustine demonstrators that if he could embrace nonviolence, anybody could.
We are hoping that everybody will apply by these rules. Now, if you can't, we don't intend for 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or not even 30 or 40 or 50 people to mess up the movement in St. Augustine.
Dr. King didn't really want this to happen in St. Augustine. He had plans for this to happen someplace else. But the problem that he had was Jose.
Jose could trick you. He knew how to trick you.
And so when I walked in the church and I had my speech all worked out, Hosea Williams said, "Here comes the Rev Andrew Young."
Andy Young is going to lead this march tonight.
I couldn't tell the people no. And so I said, well, I will lead them to the corner and let them see the mob for themselves, and then maybe I can reason with them. When I got down there with Willie Bolden, there was a small army of Klansmen just waiting for some action.
As we got close to the slave market, hearing those noises of the chains rattling, and people sometimes ask, were you all ever afraid? And a lot of folks say no, but I don't say no because I remember being afraid that night.
But no one wanted to turn back. And at that moment, someone started singing, "God will take care of you." Well, I knew the song. Through every day or all the way, He will take care of you, God will take care of you. That was all right in Sunday school, but that was the Ku Klux Klan. I said, wait here, I'll be right back.
Mm-hmm. And I was trying to keep my eyes on you, because again, you were going over there by yourself. And then at the same time, keep my eyes on the group.
I was just petrified. I don't know what it was, but I knew I wasn't supposed to move. Because I was conscious that those folk behind you leading the march could have dispersed and all hell could have broken loose.
It wasn't long after we started across the street that we were stopped.
I thought I could reason with them. And I said, we just want to go down there and pray.
To watch you move forward in that line on that evening and confront those angry white citizens of St. Augustine and simply ask them, may I pass? I'll never forget that evening. He asked to go by and they wouldn't let him go by, and they struck him and knocked him down and began to kick him and so forth.
Somebody had hit me from the blind side across my jaw, and another blow came down on my head, and frankly, that's all I remember.
I remember standing there. We just stood there, and it was like weeks, days, maybe months, even maybe years afterwards. Even now I think about, suppose that guy had had a weapon, like, you know, a knife or something.
But I had no idea what it looked like, because I didn't feel anything. You know, when you get cold cocked like that, I didn't even see the punch coming.
Yeah. It hit me like a ton of bricks, you know, that here was this person that we now know of as Andrew Young, and here he was in St. Augustine nearly being beat to death. And I'd walked across that corner where that incident happened 100 times, never even knew it.
I didn't see how I got stomped till 2006. It was 40-some years later. And then I got mad. Recently, I was very surprised to discover that a second camera had also captured footage of my assault.
The marchers were met by a gang of rock-throwing, fist-swinging white men. When police were slow to intervene, demonstrators were beaten to the ground and kicked.
This film, shot by a Florida television station that is no longer in existence, survived for one reason.
St. Augustine, Fountain of Dissent. A look at the racial conflict in the nation's oldest city.
It was part of a series of courageous reports by legendary Miami news anchor Wayne Farris that in 1964 won broadcasting's highest honor, a Peabody Award. And for that, I am truly grateful. Frederick Douglass said a long time ago, the struggle for freedom is a struggle to save black men's bodies and white men's souls. I wasn't the only one attacked. Several white marchers, including Bill England, were pulled from the line and beaten severely. Jimmy Jackson, one of the captains, fell on top of him and took his blows, as Willie Bolden did for me.
I ran over and put your head in the pit of my stomach and covered my head up until we could get them off of you.
I knew Bolden had come over and covered me and that he picked me up and brought me back here, but once you get hit, you can't turn around. So I said, it's gonna be rough, but we're gonna have to go on. Does anybody want to go back? Nobody wanted to go back. So we started on down to the next corner.
And then we marched on. I remember holding you by the arm and we walked on up to the slave market.
To watch you get up, brush yourself off, and then walk back in front of them again, to be again beaten down.
This time somebody kicked me and I kind of moved to the side so that he kicked me in my thigh.
I just found it as being, not so much as being heroic, but it's like your commitment to say that if I'm nonviolent and if I continue to confront you, eventually you have to let me through, that I refuse to give in to what you're asking me to do.
Somebody else came down and hit me with a blackjack, but my head's hard, I didn't get knocked out. And I kept talking, and a state trooper said, let him through. And somebody said, damn, them niggas got some nerve. And I said back, it's not nerve, it's faith. And we walked on through.
And to watch you then pass, and like the waters that divided, because there was a whole line of angry white males there.
I wish I could find the guy who said, that's enough, let him through.
Yeah.
Because I'm grateful to him. Because if he had not done that, all those other people would have been beaten up and they might not have been as fortunate as me.
That was an incident that helped convince me of nonviolence.